What if I told you that the tall wooden stilts you see Mursi boys balancing on aren't just childhood games, but sophisticated training systems that develop essential life skills, physical coordination, and cultural identity? Let's discover the remarkable purposes behind this ancient practice that transforms play into preparation for adulthood. Ancient training. Walk into any modern playground and you'll see equipment that gets children from point A to point B with minimum effort and maximum safety padding. Walk into a Mursi village and you'll witness boys as young as 6 years old mastering balance on wooden stilts that would challenge professional circus performers, developing coordination that takes gymnasts years to achieve through expensive training programs. These aren't toys in any sense that modern parents would recognize. They're sophisticated training devices that have been preparing Mursi boys for adult responsibilities for over 3 centuries. Every morning begins with stilt practice sessions, where older boys teach younger ones, techniques passed down through generations of fathers, uncles, and community elders who understand that childhood play becomes adult survival skills. Crafting stilts. The stilts used by Mursi boys don't come from sporting goods stores or manufactured playground equipment, but emerge from the forest itself through traditional woodworking knowledge that rivals modern engineering in precision and effectiveness. Wood selection follows strict criteria established through generations of trial and error. U.S.A.C. only specific tree species provide the right combination of strength, flexibility, and weight distribution necessary for safe, long-term use. The most prized stilts come from hardwood trees that grow slowly in highland areas, developing dense grain patterns that resist splitting and cracking under the stress of daily use. Construction techniques use traditional tools and joinery methods that create stilts lasting for years, with minimal maintenance beyond occasional oiling and minor repairs. Height customization happens naturally as boys grow, with experienced craftsmen adding sections or creating entirely new stilts that match developing physical capabilities and skill levels. Mursi stilt construction makes modern manufacturing look wasteful and environmentally destructive. Balance mastery. Learning to walk on stilts requires physical coordination development that would impress professional balance trainers and physical therapists who spend years teaching similar skills using expensive equipment and controlled environments. Beginning students start with short stilts barely 6 inches off the ground, practicing basic weight shifting and foot placement until these movements become completely automatic and require no conscious thought. Progressive skill building advances through carefully structured stages where stilt height increases gradually as balance, confidence improves, preventing dangerous falls while challenging students to develop increasingly sophisticated coordination abilities. Core strength development happens naturally through constant muscle engagement required to maintain upright posture on unstable platforms, creating functional strength that serves students throughout their adult lives. Muscle memory formation occurs through thousands of repetitive movements that train the nervous system to respond instantly to balance disruptions without conscious decision-making processes. Advanced practitioners develop proprioceptive abilities that allow them to navigate rough terrain, climb stairs, and even run while maintaining perfect balance on stilts reaching 4 feet in height. Mursi balance training produces coordination skills that make expensive modern balance training programs look primitive and ineffective. Flood navigation. During the seasonal flooding that transforms the Omo Valley into a temporary wetland, stilts become essential mobility tools that enable communities to maintain normal activities while water covers traditional walking paths and transportation routes. River crossing techniques using stilts allow boys and men to traverse streams and flooded areas that would otherwise require dangerous swimming or lengthy detours around impassable water barriers. The elevated position provides crucial advantages during flood season when ground-level visibility becomes limited and hidden obstacles create serious hazards for anyone attempting normal walking or running. Seasonal mobility applications extend beyond simple transportation to include essential activities like livestock herding, food gathering, and communication between households separated by floodwaters that can persist for weeks or months. Traditional knowledge about flood patterns, water depth estimation, and safe crossing techniques gets transmitted through stilt walking practice sessions that combine skill development with practical education. Emergency evacuation capabilities prove vital when flash floods strike suddenly, requiring immediate movement to higher ground using the fastest available transportation method. Mursi stilt navigation makes modern flood response equipment look clumsy and inadequate for the challenging terrain and unpredictable conditions that characterize seasonal flooding in their homeland. Herding applications. Cattle management becomes dramatically more effective when herders can observe and direct livestock from elevated positions that provide superior visibility and authority that ground-level herding cannot match. The height advantage allows herders to spot individual animals scattered across wide grazing areas, identify potential problems like injuries or predator threats, and coordinate complex herding movements that would be impossible from ground level. Enhanced visibility for livestock monitoring enables early detection of cattle diseases, behavioral changes indicating distress or illness, and social dynamics within herds that affect overall animal welfare and productivity. Predator spotting advantages prove crucial in territory where lions, leopards, and hyenas pose constant threats to valuable livestock that represent family wealth and food security. Traditional pastoral practices integrate stilt use with other herding techniques, creating comprehensive livestock management systems that maximize animal safety while minimizing human effort and risk exposure. Communication across long distances happens more effectively from elevated positions where herders can signal to each other using gestures and calls that carry further and remain visible above brush and terrain obstacles. Seasonal grazing management requires mobility through areas that become difficult or impossible to navigate on foot during certain weather conditions, making stilts essential tools rather than recreational equipment. Mursi herding applications demonstrate how traditional practices integrate multiple functions into single tools that modern ranching struggles to match in effectiveness and resource efficiency. Cultural identity. Stilt walking serves as a powerful rite of passage that marks the transition from childhood to adult responsibility within Mursi society, creating cultural continuity that connects individuals with ancestral traditions. Learning to master stilts represents achieving cultural competency that demonstrates readiness for adult roles within traditional social structures. Traditional masculine development includes stilt walking as one of several skill areas that boys must master to earn recognition as capable adults worthy of community respect and marriage consideration. Community belonging gets demonstrated through participation in traditional practices that distinguish Mursi identity from neighboring ethnic groups and outside cultural influences. Cultural pride emerges through mastery of traditional skills that represent ancestral wisdom developed over centuries of practice. Identity formation happens through learning traditional skills that connect individuals with their cultural heritage while providing practical capabilities for adult life. Social integration occurs through shared learning experiences that create bonds between boys while connecting them with older community members serving as teachers. Cultural transmission ensures that traditional knowledge passes reliably between generations without loss of essential techniques that define community identity. Mursi cultural identity development through stilt walking creates meaningful connection between individual achievement and community heritage that modern identity formation struggles to match. Practical skills. The height advantages provided by stilts create practical benefits for numerous daily tasks and work activities that would otherwise require ladders, scaffolding, or other equipment unavailable in traditional rural environments. Construction and building applications benefit from elevated working positions that enable roof repairs, wall construction, and architectural projects requiring overhead reach and stability at height. Agricultural work assistance includes tasks like fruit harvesting from tall trees, grain storage in elevated structures, and crop monitoring that requires overview perspectives impossible from ground level. Maintenance activities around homesteads become more efficient when workers can reach high areas without constructing temporary platforms or climbing dangerous structures. Tool functionality extends beyond simple transportation to include multiple practical applications where height provides significant advantages for work efficiency and safety. Hunting applications occasionally utilize stilts for tracking prey through difficult terrain or gaining vantage points for spotting animals in areas with limited visibility. Communication advantages emerge from elevated positions that allow visual signaling across long distances and obstacles that would block ground-level communication attempts. Resource gathering benefits from enhanced reach and visibility that enable collection of materials from elevated locations like tree branches, bird nests, and mineral deposits. Emergency response capabilities improve through mobility advantages that allow rapid movement over difficult terrain during crisis situations requiring immediate action. Mursi practical applications demonstrate how traditional tools serve multiple functions that modern specialized equipment attempts to replicate using expensive, single-purpose devices. Safety wisdom. Traditional injury prevention methods demonstrate sophisticated understanding of human biomechanics and risk management that rivals modern safety training programs in effectiveness while using completely natural learning techniques. Proper falling techniques get taught from the beginning of stilt training, ensuring that students learn to protect themselves when balance failures occur rather than preventing all risks through overprotective safety measures. Progressive difficulty management follows carefully structured advancement stages that build skills gradually without exposing students to dangers beyond their current capabilities or experience levels. Community safety protocols include supervision systems where experienced practitioners monitor beginning students while teaching proper techniques and providing immediate assistance when problems arise. Risk assessment happens naturally through traditional knowledge about environmental conditions, equipment maintenance, and individual capability evaluation that prevents most accidents before they occur. Emergency response procedures ensure that injured practitioners receive immediate traditional medical care, while serious injuries get appropriate attention from community healers with experience treating stilt-related trauma. Equipment inspection standards require regular evaluation of stilt condition, including checks for cracks, loose joints, and wear patterns that might indicate potential failure risks requiring immediate repair or replacement. Weather adaptation guidelines help practitioners understand when conditions become too dangerous for stilt walking, including considerations of wind, rain, and terrain conditions that increase accident risks beyond acceptable levels. Age-appropriate limitations ensure that younger children receive stilts and training suitable for their physical development and cognitive abilities rather than attempting to match older students prematurely. Mursi Safety Wisdom creates comprehensive risk management systems that enable traditional practices to continue safely without eliminating the challenges and skill development opportunities that make these activities valuable for personal growth and cultural education. Teaching methods. Master-student relationships form the foundation of traditional stilt walking education, creating personal bonds between experienced practitioners and beginning students that ensure comprehensive skill, transmission, and cultural continuity. Expert teachers bring decades of practical experience to their instruction, having mastered not only the physical techniques, but also the cultural knowledge and traditional wisdom associated with stilt walking within Mursi society. Teaching progression follows established patterns that begin with basic balance exercises using short stilts and gradually advance through increasingly complex skills as students demonstrate readiness for greater challenges. Individual attention ensures that each student receives instruction appropriate for their specific learning style, physical capabilities, and cultural background while maintaining connection to traditional teaching methods. Demonstration techniques show proper form and technique through repeated examples that allow students to observe correct movements and understand subtle details that verbal instruction alone cannot convey effectively. Practice supervision includes careful monitoring of student progress with immediate feedback and correction that prevents the development of bad habits while encouraging continued effort and improvement. Cultural context education ensures that students understand the historical significance, practical applications, and social importance of stilt walking within traditional Mursi culture rather than learning only physical techniques. Peer learning opportunities allow students of similar skill levels to practice together while learning from each other's successes and mistakes in supportive environments that build confidence and social bonds. Achievement recognition celebrates student progress through traditional ceremonies and community acknowledgement that motivate continued learning while honoring the cultural significance of skill mastery. Mursi teaching methods create comprehensive educational experiences that develop both practical skills and cultural understanding through personal relationships and traditional knowledge transmission systems that modern education struggles to match in effectiveness and cultural integration. Tourism impact. External interest in traditional Mursi practices creates both opportunities and challenges as tourists and researchers document stilt walking while generating income for communities through cultural demonstrations and educational programs. Photography and video documentation helps preserve traditional knowledge while also creating permanent records that can support cultural education and preservation efforts within and outside Mursi communities. Economic opportunities emerge through organized cultural tours that provide income for families willing to demonstrate traditional skills while educating visitors about Mursi culture and traditional practices. Cultural commodification concerns arise when traditional practices become performances designed primarily for tourist entertainment, rather than authentic cultural expression and skill development activities. Authentic practice preservation requires careful balance between sharing cultural knowledge with interested outsiders and maintaining the genuine cultural significance and traditional context of stilt walking within Mursi society. Educational value creation happens when tourism interactions help visitors understand the sophistication and cultural importance of traditional practices, rather than viewing them as primitive entertainment or exotic curiosities. Community control over tourism activities ensures that cultural sharing happens according to traditional protocols and community preferences rather than external demands that might distort or exploit traditional practices. Revenue distribution systems help ensure that tourism income benefits entire communities rather than creating inequality between families that participate in tourist activities and those that prefer traditional privacy. Cultural sensitivity training for tourists helps prevent inappropriate behavior and misunderstanding that could damage cultural relationships or create negative impressions of traditional practices. Long-term sustainability planning addresses the need to balance tourism benefits with cultural preservation goals that maintain traditional knowledge and practices for future generations, regardless of external interest or economic opportunities. Mursi tourism impact creates complex dynamics that require careful management to ensure that traditional practices benefit from external interest without losing their authentic cultural significance and traditional context within community. Life. The Mursi tradition of stilt walking reveals how indigenous communities transform practical necessities into comprehensive education systems that develop physical skills, cultural identity, and social bonds simultaneously. What outsiders might see as simple childhood play actually represents sophisticated training that prepares young men for adult responsibilities in challenging environments. This practice demonstrates the intelligence embedded in traditional knowledge systems that create multiple benefits from single activities, maximizing learning while building community connections and cultural continuity across generations. Rather than dismissing traditional practices as outdated entertainment, we can recognize their value as holistic development systems that modern education and training programs struggle to match in effectiveness and cultural integration. The continuation of stilt walking traditions depends on communities successfully balancing cultural preservation with contemporary opportunities, ensuring that valuable traditional knowledge survives while adapting to changing circumstances and maintaining relevance for future generations.